I'm a huge movie guy. You guys like movies? I love movies. Brooklyn and I go see a movie probably at least once every other week, but most of the time once a week, because we have this thing called Movie Pass, where we paid. Yeah, there you go, man. Sarah, I'm getting a lot of feedback from Sarah tonight. That's a lot. I like it. So if you guys aren't familiar with Movie Pass, you can pay $10 a month, and you can go see a movie anytime you want, which is pretty cool. So anyway, my favorite movie that I've seen this summer is actually Han Solo, or Solo. I keep saying Han Solo. Solo. I've seen Jurassic World. I've seen Incredibles 2. I've seen what have I seen? I've seen Black Panther, but I've seen Infinity Wars. But really, really my favorite movie was Solo because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And if you guys haven't seen me since I've been back from vacation with Brooklyn, I went to Disney World, and we actually got to see Clone Troopers. We got to visit with Kylo Ren, and Brooklyn. Kylo Ren actually persuaded Brooklyn to go to the dark side, and I had to save her, and I got out my lightsaber and everything. And another movie I'm really excited about in a couple months is Fantastic Beasts. Which that's going to be really cool. Man, I am a huge movie fan. I'm not like all into the, oh man, that movie was good because of all the different camera angles and that kind of. I'm not like that into it. But I do appreciate movies, and I like the fact that we can sometimes go into like a different world in movies. You find like you're still connected to reality, like with Harry Potter. How many of you guys are Harry Potter fans? Like you're still kind of connected to reality, but you step into this fantasy world. But I believe that movies can teach us a lot about ourselves. And I believe that movies are actually sending messages to us, good or bad, that are changing our lives. Not only movies, but any kind of media that you watch. Whether that be music or listen to, or how many of you guys like podcasts? Anybody like podcasts? That's kind of older. Like you guys are. How many of you love YouTube? Hey, I heard a statistic that 50% of you say you cannot live without watching YouTube. You cannot live without. So 50% of Gen Z cannot live without watching YouTube. So this is just one of the ways that we want to, because I believe that media speaks to our hearts. We watch movies, we listen to music, we watch podcasts because we want to learn and because it speaks to our heart. And a movie that really, I think, speaks to a lot of people's heart or has spoken to a lot of people's heart is Black Panther, right? And that's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight is Black Panther. Yes, Wakanda forever, whatever. I think that's how you do it, right? Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever, yeah, there you go. I actually went and saw that twice in the movie, but... What is it? What is this? Wakanda forever. Like that. Is that how you do it, Brooklyn? Anyway, I'm just gonna keep going. All right, hey, so really, I want to take the messages that we get from Black Panther, and break it down and kind of apply it to our lives. Something that God's really been speaking in my life is relates to this movie. But before we get into that, I want us to do something a tradition that we do here at Momentum, and I haven't done it in a while, and I really missed it. But when I say Jesus is, all right, that was kind of weak. I need some more energy tonight. All right, Jesus is. All right, I like it. He's real. He's active. He's working in your life, and if you don't know that, I want to remind you that tonight. That God is working in your life, and that even though it may not seem like it sometimes, He is. But something that God's really been working on with me is this word ambition. Have you guys ever heard of that word ambition? TCC, actually, Tulsa Community College. Some of you guys are going into college. Some of you guys actually go to TCC or are planning on going to TCC. But TCC actually has this saying. If you drive down 169, it says, bring your ambition. It says, bring your ambition. And this word ambition, I heard a sermon one time, and I thought that this word ambition was like a good thing, right? Like, I'm like, how many of you guys ever, has anybody ever said, like, you have ambition? And I know some of you guys are thinking, man, all I ever do is play video games. I don't have ambition, you know. But here's the thing: is that like this word ambition can be twisted. It can be, and we're going to take a look at what it means biblically and how it applies to Black Panther. But really, what I want to focus on is I want to look up this definition of ambition. What does ambition actually mean? Ambition is defined as this. There's a couple different definitions, but I chose two. The first is desire and determination to achieve success. Desire and determination to achieve success. But what I've found is, what really is success? Like how do you define success? If I asked a few of you, how do you define success? You guys would come up with all kinds of different answers. You come up with man, I want to be the best in my band, or I want to get a 4.0 GPA this next semester. I want to be the valedictorian of my class. I want to do this or whatever. And then I should ask some of you, and you're like, man, I just want to get some C's. Like I just want to, like if I could just pass my classes. There you go. I'm not calling anybody out. But man, if I could just pass my classes, then I would be success. So then the second definition is this: a strong desire to do or to achieve something, typically requiring determination or hard work. We kind of see ambition in athletics. Like sports, it requires a lot of determination. In band, it requires a lot of determination to be the best. We have Freddie. He's probably gonna be playing college athletics next year, soccer, and he was actually the captain. And Thomas is gonna be the captain of the Memorial soccer team. And for a lot of you guys, and I was just talking to, this guy right here scored 16 goals last year. What? Landon? All right, Landon. This is Landon, everybody. Landon scored 16 goals. That's pretty cool. But what I want to say is that, like, sport, we kind of see ambition in sports. But what I want to say is this, is all these definitions, there's a problem with this word ambition. And I want to kind of break this down, but the first point I want to talk to you guys about is that ambition is actually rooted. The problem with ambition is it usually is fueled by a deep pain or insecurity. The reason that you want to be the best is usually not altruistic, which means you're not trying to be the best just to be the best. You're trying to be the best so you can be better than everybody else, so that somebody will notice you, so that maybe you have parents that are really like pushing you, and you've always had this high expectation. Or maybe there's like some pain there that you're like, somebody has said something to you in the past and it just hurts. And so you mask that pain with working really hard. See, some people, when they face pain, they start working really hard to mask that. And other people retreat from it. Other people retreat when they have pain. Whether they say, I just don't care. I'm just not going to try on my homework. I'm just not going to turn that paper in. I'm just not going to try out for that sport. But other people will really push in to that, and they develop this ambition within. And I think sometimes we wrap our insecurity with ambition. And I just want to show you guys a really quick clip about somebody having some pain. Man, that's a really intense part of the movie when T'Challa figures out that the truth about his dad, but also the truth about Killmonger and his dad and what happened. And as we'll kind of talk about later, Killmonger has this, who was the kid in the scene, he has this deep pain and deep, and it wraps his ambition. And I want to just talk about, there's a guy in the Bible that I want to talk about that kind of relates to this. His name was Absalom. And Absalom, if you guys you just want to look at his story, it's found in 2 Samuel 13 through 19. And this is actually one of my favorite stories in the Bible. I say that almost every week. But that this really is. There's a really good book out, if you guys are interested in learning about leadership, called The Tale of Three Kings. And it talks about King Absalom, King David, and King Saul. And it compares the three of them. But Absalom was the son of King David. You guys know King David. King David is the guy who killed Goliath. He became king. He did it the right way. He didn't overthrow Saul, which was the former king, but he actually fled Saul because Saul wanted to kill him. But now David becomes king, and now he's an old man. And Absalom, his son, it's actually his third oldest son. He finds Absalom is hurt because actually what happened in the Bible is Absalom's oldest brother raped his sister, and he ends up like killing him. But then he has all this guilt and bitterness and anger all inside. And David never did anything about it. He never came and talked to him about it. He never came and like consulted him. He just kind of like left him be, you know. And you know what? A lot of people will use this illustration to say that King David, the man after God's own heart, you know, the guy that killed Goliath, but actually was a bad father. People will say that about David, and that's why Absalom ends up rebelling against his father. Absalom was just a hurt teenager, and the Bible says that he was like the most good-looking guy in the world, in the whole realm, in the whole area. He was good-looking. He had long hair, and what actually happened is he would sit out at the gate of the city. King David let him stay out there, and he would sit at the gate, and when people came into the city to go see the king, Absalom would say, man, you know, King David, my dad, doesn't really have time for you. So why don't you just talk to me? Why don't you just tell me your problems, and I'll handle them? So he started to win the heart of the people. Absalom did, because he started to hear, he was listening to all the people, and he was doing something about it. And he was saying that, oh, David doesn't have time for you. And so Absalom wins the heart of the people, and he ends up starting a revolt. He ends up getting enough support to where now he's able to overthrow the entire government. So there's a huge battle, and over 20,000 people are killed. 20,000 people are killed in this battle. And this is all in the Bible, by the way. So the Bible has a lot of really cool stories. So Absalom overthrows, 20,000 people dead in a day. Absalom, the same hair that caused him to be like beautiful, and all the girls were like, oh, you know. He actually gets it caught in a tree. He gets it caught in a tree, and they find him, and they kill him. And then they bring word back to David, and David is just devastated. He's just devastated. Even though his son was trying to overthrow him, he was still devastated. But Absalom, his hurt and insecurity drove his ambition to overthrow his father. It drove that ambition to be the best. Even though Absalom really didn't even want to take over, he felt this deep hurt. And I want to tell you guys, it's the same for you. It's the same way for you. All of us have hurts in our lives. All of us have insecurities. And I don't know about you guys, but I have always felt this drive within me. And we can blame it. We can say, oh, I want to do something great for God, or oh, I want to do something like this. But ambition, I can't find, there's a couple types of ambition, and I kind of want to go over that. The first type, it's called philotimeia. Yeah, philotemahi, that's the Greek word. And it's found in Romans 15, verse 20. It says this: it has always been my ambition to preach the gospel where Christ was not known, so that I would not be building myself or building on someone else's foundation. So Paul is saying this, and he says, and kind of the definition of this word is this. It says, to be fond of honor, eager or earnest to do something, labor, strive, study. So in this sense, it's kind of a good thing. Ambition is a good thing because it's like I am striving, I am ready, I am like ready to do something for Christ. And then there's a second thing, second word for definition, and this is called erathia. And it says this. It says it is contention or strife. Like we talked about after worship, man, some of us are just striving to be better, to be good enough. And I don't know about you guys, but I have felt this. I think I was talking to a lot of people about anxiety And I think a lot of anxiety comes from always trying to measure up to everybody's expectations, even sometimes our own expectations. Sometimes we have expectations of ourselves that we're not matching. And when we're continually striving to match these expectations, that's where sometimes anxiety and depression and these things can come in. But let me, and I think anxiety comes when we make life about us. When we make life about me and what I'm doing and what I'm not doing and all this. Because to me, while we're on this topic of anxiety, I wasn't even planning to get here, but I struggle with anxiety. And so, and some of you guys may be too, where sometimes I wake up in the mornings and I get I can't breathe. Like I start thinking about all the things I got to do that day, all the things I haven't done or whatever, and I get anxiety, I get anxious and I can't breathe. And I start coughing and it's just bad. And I end up throwing up and that kind of stuff. So what I want to say is that, but what I think is this, is anxiety, sometimes God is putting this in my heart, is the reason I have anxiety is to put me back, get me in a place of desperation so I can seek God with everything I have. It's almost like a check for me. It's almost like, and I'm not saying that God causes anxiety. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm saying he uses it. What I'm saying is God doesn't want us to have anxiety. But what the thing is that sometimes, every time I get anxiety, I am on my knees praying. I'm in the Word. I'm surrendering my life back to God every time. And I don't know. I'm asking God to completely take it from me. And I ask that God completely take anxiety from you. But Paul says this. He says, there was a thorn in my side that I asked God to take out, but he never did. But he says, my grace is sufficient for you. So what I want to say is, whatever you're going through, God's grace is sufficient for you. Maybe I'll do a whole message on this some other time so I can get deeper into it. But I just wanted to share that with you guys and let you know that if you're struggling with anxiety, man, I am praying for you. I'm here for you because, I understand. But anyway, back to ambition. And so I'm going to read you guys a few verses of this ambition that is striving or uncontent. In 2 Corinthians 12:20, it says this, for I am afraid that when I come, I may not find you as I want you to be. And you may not find me as I want to be. I fear there may be discord, jealousy, fits of rage. And listen to this, selfish ambition. Everybody say selfish ambition. So every time that this Greek word, what was it? It was started with an E. Sorry, I don't know Greek. I only know Hebrew. Arithea. Every time this word is used, it has selfish before the word ambition. In Galatians 5:20, it says this, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissension, and factions. And then Philippians 1:17 says this, the former preach Christ out of selfish ambition. Everybody say selfish ambition. Not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I am in chains. So what Paul is saying is look, there's kind of these two types of ambition. And remember, this is translated into English. So that's why we go back to the Greek, because that's what it was originally written in Greek. But these two words is Paul uses these words of selfish ambition, and then there's regular ambition. But it's that motivation you have to preach the word. It's that motivation to reach people. And it's always motivated out of love, not self-gain. I want to show you guys a quick clip about Killmonger when he gets older and he comes and takes the throne. So we have this scene where Killmonger is going and he's taking the throne. I love that phrase when he says, "I've come for the throne. I've come for the throne." And I think sometimes in our lives we want the throne. We want the throne that only God should be at. And sometimes when we have ambition and we have hurt and bitterness and maybe some anger or maybe some insecurities inside of us, we don't want to give God the throne that He deserves, and we don't want to totally surrender to God. And I really think that this isn't really valued in our culture, because our culture is so self-sufficient. We want to be independent. We want to do everything ourselves. And I think that a lot of times we value people that are really ambitious and take life by the horns, take all that kind of stuff. But really, I think it's contrary to what the Bible might be actually teaching us. I think sometimes culture can be contrary to what is biblical. Sometimes culture, because Jesus doesn't ask us to follow the culture. He asks us to actually be countercultural, which means if we are doing everything that the culture says we should do, then are we really following Jesus? Or are we following a Jesus that we've made up in our own head? And so sometimes, so God's really been working on this with me of where's that balance of finding that healthy drive to reach people. Because, hey, man, Jesus said, go and make disciples of all nations. Go into every area, into the marketplace. Go be a CEO of a company. Go be a teacher. Go do all these great things for me, and so that my name can be known. But then there's like that other side of it where we want to be successful. We want to be the best so that maybe your dad will notice you, or that your mom will notice you, or that they'll be proud of you. And I think there's that like balance, or that you can live with yourself. Because some of you guys put that expectations on yourself. Because I remember what I said is that when we experience pain in our lives, we either go one way or the other. We either really push in hard and we want to do the best we can, or we retreat and we say, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to, not going to try. And here's what I want to say is that the only thing that can really combat this ambition, this selfish ambition that is, I see it everywhere. I've seen it in my life. Even I've seen it in people. I've seen it in our culture, so prevalent because we want to be independent, we want to be successful. And you know what? One of the gods of our country is money. And nothing drives money more than ambition, more than having success at all costs. That's what it's about. But I want to say the only force in the universe, the only force in the world that can replace ambition is being a servant. The only thing that can really replace, like you, that part of you that wants to be the best to satisfy some pain or to prove somebody wrong or to mask some insecurity. Can I tell you, pastors are some of the most insecure people in the world. I'm pretty insecure. And sometimes I will do things because I want people to like me. That's kind of ambition. But the only thing that can combat ambition is to be a servant. And that's what Jesus says all throughout the Bible, doesn't he? He says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. He says that to really gain your life, you first have to lose your life. He says that it's really hard for the rich to enter into the kingdom of heaven. It's almost so difficult. It's like a camel going through the eye of a needle. He says, there's all kinds of references. He said, I have not come to be served, but to serve. There's all these references that Jesus is saying, look, it's the kingdom of heaven is like an upside down kingdom. When we serve, we're actually at the top. The greatest servant is the greatest leader, as we talked about in our leadership classes. But the greatest servant is the greatest leader. And I want to read you guys some scripture because this is really cool because Jesus doesn't just say it, but he actually demonstrated it. He doesn't actually say to be a servant, but he actually was a servant. He says this in Philippians 2:3. I love this. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Man, if you guys want to memorize a verse, this is a verse to memorize. Do nothing out of selfish ambition. Like there's that word again. There's that word that we've been singing. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. And your relationships with one another have the same mindset as Jesus Christ, who being the very nature of God did not consider equality with God. He didn't see equality with God as something to be used to his own advantage. So he was equal with God. He could have came and ruled everything. He could have made us all bow down to him and worship him. And he will someday. But in all of his divinity, which means he was God himself, but he didn't see that as something to rule over us and take advantage. He says, rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. There's that servant word. being made in human likeness and being found in the appearance as man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Did you guys get this? Like Jesus became a servant, and what he did is he humbled himself, and he took the position of somebody that was a sinner, which that means is somebody that had wronged God. Even though he never sinned, he was equal with God, but he didn't see it as something to take advantage of. So he became a servant by serving all of us, all of humanity. He took the death that we deserved, guys. He took the death that we deserved. And it says this, therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Here's the thing, guys. Jesus took the pain. He took all of our insecurity. He took it all. And when we try to mask our pain and insecurity, and we turn it into ambition, and we're trying to prove a point to everybody that we're the best, or we're trying to prove a point to everybody that we don't have to try. I mean, that can go both ways. But when we're constantly striving, what we're really saying is, Jesus, your sacrifice doesn't really matter. Your sacrifice doesn't really matter. I know you came and you took the form of a servant and you humbled yourself and you died for me. You died for me. But I think I can really deal with this myself. Because the only thing that can combat the pain that's inside of us, that propels us to be ambitious, is love. Is love. Love has to be the force that takes that ambition. In this movie, Killmonger takes over. He becomes the Black Panther for a little bit. He gets everything. And I don't want to ruin the whole movie for you, and they have a final battle. And there's just this scene where at the very end, he's like, we can still heal you. Black Panther's like, we can still heal you. And Killmonger, I'm not going to get political or anything like that. But what I want to say, he basically rejects that. He's like, I would rather die. It's like, I would rather die. And I think some of us would rather die than to receive help from God. Like, I think we would rather do everything ourselves, to do everything in our power to make it right ourselves, than to receive help. C.S. Lewis says that God doesn't send anybody to hell. God never sends anybody to hell or to heaven. We choose where we go. We choose where we go. And I really believe that if we are always trying to do everything on our own, and we have that hurt and that pain wrapped in our ambition, then we're really not letting God do a deep work in our life. And just in conclusion, if I can get somebody to come and play the pad. In conclusion, I just feel this very strongly, and it's convicting to me, guys. So this is why I'm preaching on this, because it really speaks to me. And I just think sometimes we don't trust God enough. I think we can rely on our own intelligence, our own athletic ability, our own ability to sing or to play, our own ability to make money. And what we do is we kind of block God out of our life. And I have there's this picture in my head of from the day we were born, guys, every human being, from the day we were born, we were fighting against God. Like we have all of our armor, we have our sword, we have our bow, we have our weapons, and we're aiming them at God. Have you ever seen how selfish a 2-year-old is? It's pretty crazy. But I really believe, some people are like, oh, they're just so innocent. I was listening to a country song the other day, and he's like, I believe everybody's good, something like that. And I'm just like, man, I don't agree with that at all. I think everybody's bad. I know nobody has good motives. Literally nobody. When you're born, like the Bible says that we're at war with God because of the sin that is inside of us. And I just imagine, I had this dream one time, and Zach kind of makes fun of me about it. He was just making fun of me yesterday. He didn't know I was going to use this illustration. But I had this vision of like a stairway to heaven. Like I was just driving to ORU one day, and I had this vision of like a stairway to heaven. And there's like a night where like a warrior, you can just put yourself in that shoes. And on the way up, the night, and this stairway is like life. On the way up, this night, this warrior just begins to drop their armor. Just one by one, piece by piece, their sword, their helmet, their breastplate, everything that they have, they just begin to drop this. Because when we stand before God, all the ambition that we had on this earth will be like nothing. All the accomplishments that you have in your life, the grades that you made, although they are important, they won't matter. God's not going to grade you when you get to heaven. He's not going to say, well, why did you get a B on that test? He doesn't care. What he's going to say is, did you surrender everything you had to me? Did you give me your pain? I could have helped you. I could have taken that from you. Why didn't you give it to me? And I was just reading in the book of Amos the other day, and it says this, Amos 2:14-16, it says this: the swift will not escape. The strong will not muster their strength. The warrior will not save his life. The archer will not stand his ground. The fleet-footed soldier will not get away. The horseman will not save his life. Even the bravest warriors will flee naked on that day, declares the Lord. Even the bravest warriors will flee, and they will have nothing. And I really do believe that at the end of our lives, that's what we're going to have. And I love in the last verse we read, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. Whether we do it now, or whether we let him in and do it, like surrender everything to him, or someday when we get to heaven, every knee will bow. Every knee will bow before him. And I want to say is, tonight, can you just give him your pain and your insecurity, maybe your anxiety, your depression, your worry, that you've been trying to mask, that you've been trying to be the best. You've been trying to be the funniest person in the room your whole life. You've been trying to be the best, whatever, just fill in that blank. And tonight, I really think that God is wanting to set you free of that pressure that you feel all the time to be that. Because in the end, God just wants to be with you, and he wants to hear you. He wants to take that pain. So what I want to do is I want us all just to stand with our heads bowed. Dear Heavenly Father, God, I just confess to you tonight that I've been trying to do a lot of things